Who cares about winning jackpots if playing the games cause severe health and safety issues? I need to nuke this tier list and reconsider all the placements, but this time I need to keep our physical health in mind. So here's a list of 24 arcade games and one vacuum cleaner that we've discussed on this channel. We will be running through these in alphabetical order, so let's get started. So first up, we've got the typical basketball arcade games. They would typically look like this. Since this game dispenses the basketballs at a reasonable height, it shouldn't hurt to grab them. As long as we are throwing the balls with proper form, this game will encourage a healthier lifestyle. I have to dock some points here, because the button to start the game is on a flat surface. This means prolonged use to the start game button will contribute to repetitive strain injuries. We can play around this issue by bringing a wrist pillow before you use the start button. It has one small limitation that can be worked around. Let's give this one A tier. Here's Basketball Pro. Straight up, f this game. It might be a great option for tickets, but this is the only arcade game that has ever drawn blood on me. Twice. My most accurate shot is done by punching straight down on the basketball-shaped button. Obviously, this isn't the correct way to play, but it has been the only way I can get nothing but net. Any of you guys remember the original Mario Party? The joystick rotating minigames were so unergonomic that you needed to play the game with gloves. That's what this arcade game feels like. It's the Mario Party 1 of Redemption arcades. I refuse to entertain this one any further. Straight to F tier. Let's keep the negativity ball rolling with our next one. It's Blox Breaker. Look how deep the ball dispensing hole is. You need to either squat or bend over to reach for your low balls. When you play this totally fair and not rigged game, you aren't going to stop and think about proper squatting form while retrieving your balls. So this game is definitely going to lead to either bad posture or an injury from improper squatting form. And to add insult to injury, prolonged exposure to this screen will contribute to eye strain. I will give this game one thing. The start button is on a slight angle to be more ergonomic. I'll give this game a generous D tier. So here we've got the fake Roomba. It's the Brookestone 3-in-1 robot floor cleaner. This arcade prize provides no intrinsic value or benefit. Its existence in your home is entirely detrimental. All it does is dent up your baseboards and create a tripping hazard for your family. It's F tier. Why would it go anywhere else? This is garbage. But I will say it is safer than playing Basketball Pro, so it can go above that one. Alright, so we've got Centipede Chaos next. This game is a good example for proper ergonomics. Look at the dashboard here. Your joystick and buttons are on a nice elevated angle to help prevent RSI. No wrist pillow required. You would think that this game's screen would give you eye strain. However, the developers did have this issue in mind. You'll notice the color scheming of the game is nice and consistent. There aren't any crazy strobe light events either. The overall color scheme is more muted to be easier on our eyes. Heck, when you transition from stages, you get a nice color fade to match the tone of your next stage. This was obviously done to help protect the eyes of the players. You even get a stool to sit on, so you don't have to worry about changing your elevation in the y-axis while playing this game. But I have to give a mild deduction here. It's just a stool. We need something with lumbar support, or else prolonged exposure to this game will lead to bad posture. This game deserves A tier. It was so close to being perfect. Let's see Connect 4 Hoops. Now this game is a leader in ergonomic innovation. It avoids flat start buttons by not having any buttons. You start a single player game by just throwing a ball into one of the hoops. If you're playing with one of your good pals, you start a multiplayer game by just paying twice to play. This is just great. As long as you throw the ball like a proper basketball player, you shouldn't develop RSI from playing this. And what's this? A protective shield to make sure the players and their drinks are safe from accidental rebound balls? This shield also acts as a barrier for your eyes against the harmful screen. My, this game has it all. Please welcome our first inhabitant of the S tier. Alright, come on over and have some fun with Crazy Tower. Now this game is interesting. It avoids the eye strain problem of staring at screens by not being a screen. It uses weird voodoo magic to project the game onto a cursed glass pyramid. But that said, there are some ergonomic drawbacks to consider. The button is once again flat, so I highly recommend you take a look at some RSI stretches before you even consider playing Crazy Tower. Another aspect of this game to consider is that it has two unique ergonomic problems, so you can decide which one you want. These sidebars like to flash random colors during your play to try and blind the players and give them eye strain. You can avoid this by leaning in closer to the pyramid, but this will result in bad posture, so it truly is a pick your poison scenario. Do you want eye strain or back problems? This game deserves C tier. Not a great game for ergonomics, but it's nice enough to let you pick how you want to ruin your body. Okay, here's a neat one. This is Crossy Road. This game only has two buttons to use, one to start the game and one to hop forward within the game. Thankfully, these buttons are on a nice angle to promote ergonomic play, but we need to dock some points for the bright screen that's harmful for the eyes. And don't forget the annoying strobe light party bars on the sides. Yeah, it's got the same ones as Crazy Tower. Your best course of action is to bring a pair of sunglasses to the arcade to protect your eyes while playing this game. When you optimize this ergonomic play, it's not the worst, so we can give this one B tier. That's really interesting that we had this game next alphabetically, because ergonomically, Flying Tickets is identical to Crossy Road, B tier. Oh boy, let's take a look at Keymaster again. Thankfully, there is no bright LED flashing nor screens to stare at. But look at the control board. If you care about the health of your hands and wrists, I recommend you get one of those pointy finger sticks to control both the joystick and the button. This game will also trick you into thinking you can line up the key, so it will make you squat or bend over to try to eyeball the lineup of the keyhole. But worst of all, if you are unfortunate enough to win this game, you will have to now bend over or squat to reach the incredibly low prize chute. To work around this issue, consider bringing a reach or grabber stick to retrieve your entirely skill-based prize. This game goes to C tier. Up next, we've got Kung Fu Panda Mojo Dojo Arcade. A great movie, but a not-so-great game in the ergonomics category. The button and the screen are pretty low, requiring you to bend over to see and hit everything as effectively as possible. Thankfully, you don't need to do real kung fu on these buttons, but striking the pads can hurt your hands and wrists. For your safety, I would recommend wearing a pair of Hulk hands before you decide to play this game. And since you gotta stare at this screen while playing, you may want to bring a pair of blue light resistant glasses to protect your eyes. We gotta give this one D tier. So this is Mega Stacker, and we are looking specifically at the ticket version of this game, not the one with those prize doors. Just look at this button. If you want to protect your hand from this unsafe button, you're going to need to play this game with a giant foam finger. But I will say there aren't any obnoxious flashy light shows or anything to damage your eyes. It can go to A tier. Okay, here's a fun one. It's the Monopoly Coin Pusher. This game just makes you drop a coin, and thankfully the coin chute is at a good height to not hurt your wrists while dropping the coin. The screen above is also at a good eye level for you to watch the start feature. We can give this one A tier. The screen can hurt your eyes while you watch the start feature, but you can play around this by simply covering your eyes until the start feature ends. Next, we've got Monster Drop Extreme. This has another unergonomic button, but thankfully you only need to press it once. My real concern is that this game will scream at you about bonus balls and play really loud sound effects. Bonus ball! So it will try to intentionally hurt your ears. Thankfully, you can play around this by simply bringing earplugs to the arcade. So this one can be B tier once you optimize the health and safety strategies. Let's look at Piano Keys. It's a fun game and all, but where do I begin? The game is nice enough to give you a bench to sit on, but where's the lumbar support? And look at how the piano keys are situated here. You're asking for carpal tunnel syndrome if you play this too much. And don't forget the noise pollution from the keys themselves. Do you want hearing loss? The game is also blinding you with flashy LEDs and a screen that will strain your eyes. I don't think I can give you advice to save this game. This bench right here is the only thing saving the game from F tier. It's an all-out attack on your physical health, but it does spare your legs, so we can give it D tier. Okay, Pop the Lock is next. A true breadwinner for tickets, but can we say the same ergonomically? I'm going to say no. This is another flat-angled button which will hurt your hand and wrist. You can alleviate this pain by playing kneeling, but doing so for a prolonged time will hurt your knees. So again, it's another pick your poison on how you want to punish your physical health. Let's talk about eye strain here. Usually this game is a black screen. This was done on purpose so that it can reflect the lights and screens from other games to help with hurting your eyes. You know how Pokemon can be shiny? So can arcade games. Look at this cool shiny Pop the Lock. If you play on this special version, I'm sure your eyes will be better off, but not everyone has the privilege to play on the shiny Pop the Lock, so we gotta give this one C tier. Can Power Roll keep the ergonomic dream rolling? Well, if you want to play this game correctly, you need to bring a protractor to the arcade. But you might hurt yourself bending over to use the protractor, so please invest in a pair of moon shoes to keep yourself safe. Thankfully, this game doesn't have you staring at screens, but if you do win, you need to seek refuge as soon as possible. The jackpot fanfare is a crazy strobe light party that is sure to hurt your eyes. This game can be ergonomic with the correct precautions in mind, so we can give it B tier. Let's check out Quik Drop. Now this game is abysmal for ergonomics. You need to press an unergonomic button not once, not twice, no, you gotta press this thing 50 times. This game is going to give you carpal tunnel syndrome for sure, but it also requires you to have bad posture to ensure the correct timing lineup. Due to the nature of how many button presses this game needs, I recommend you bring a spatula to the arcade. If you hold the spatula correctly, it will prevent any hand or wrist pains that may arise from playing Quik Drop. If you manage to win this game, it will also blind you with a light show. We gotta give this one D tier. Okay, here we've got a coin pusher based on the hit game 7 Granddad. Much like how the original source material is a masterpiece of gaming, the coin pusher is a masterclass in ergonomics. There's no screen that hurts your eyes. The game simply has a joystick and button to aim and shoot your fleenstones. Since there aren't any cards or coins to collect from this game, you have no reason to bend over. This is an easy S tier. Next is Space Invaders Frenzy. Finally, this is the first seated arcade game to provide lumbar support. The aimable cannon has good button placement to shoot. It doesn't strain my hands to aim and shoot with this. Unfortunately, the button to start the game is on a flat angle again, but you can backdoor this issue. If you simply wait 15 seconds, the game just starts on its own. You can be patient or start the game early and risk carpal tunnel syndrome. The choice is yours. The real issue is the jackpot screen. Just like Power Roll, you are encouraged to evacuate to protect your eyes from the light show brought on from achieving the Invader bonus. This game is a solid A tier for ergonomics. There's a few issues, but an informed player can easily work around them once they optimize their ergonomic play. Up next, here's Spider Stompin'. Yeah, I know I called this one an ergonomic nightmare in my original video for this game, but let's give it an honest evaluation. There's no eye-straining screen to stare at, and look at these difficulty buttons. The developers clearly had the safety of our hands in mind, but I will maintain that the gameplay doesn't do your neck and back any favors. It's difficult to maintain good posture while playing this game as quickly as you can. The easiest way to protect yourself from injury would be to prop up a mirror to help see what buttons are lighting up. But one more positive thing to consider is that this game is technically a dance rhythm game, if you believe GameFAQs. So you can consider it a fun cardiovascular exercise option. My original ergonomic evaluation of this game wasn't entirely fair, so we can let it swarm into C tier. Up next, we've got the funny fidget spinner game. This one's pretty lackluster. It's got too many flashy lights, but most importantly, while the fidget spinner is in motion, it can pose a serious health and safety risk to any unsuspecting fingers that dare to come too close. It spins down to D tier. Here we've got the Spongebob Pineapple Arcade. The button to dispense your token down the fun slide is on a nice angle to protect your hand and wrist from RSI. The only big ergonomic issue with this game happens when you win cards and need to bend down to grab them from the prize chute. This isn't horrible. As long as you brought a long soup ladle to the arcade, you can safely retrieve your winnings. We can let it float up to A tier. Here we've got Stacker Blue. It's like Mega Stacker, but now it's blue, and it gives us prizes when it feels like it. This one is going to B tier. It has the same reasons as Mega Stacker, but if you expect to win on this game, make sure to have your dinosaur head on a stick ready. Up next, we've got Subway Surfers. Oh, this is such a cool game, guys. It can't do anything wrong. Okay, maybe all these like flashing bars, those are pretty bad, but everything else is perfect. Oh, this is top of A tier. Next, we've got Timberman. This one's actually pretty innovative with their controls. You can choose to chop your tree with either the top or side buttons. The top buttons are on a safe angle to play, and you can choose the side ones if that's easier on your hands. As long as you brought your prescription lumberjack goggles, you run no health concerns with this game. This is for sure an inclusion to A tier. Alright, so this is Tower of Tickets. The game is controlled by pressing one button, and thankfully this is on a safe angle to press. Now this game has two versions. There's one that has a platform that scores your ticket roll and returns it to the board, but there's also a version that sends it down a hole and needs to be grabbed from the prize chute. Both of these pose a risk to your physical health. The platform one has a horrible strobe light go off while counting your tickets. Depending on how slow it counts, you may have created a public health risk for everyone's eyes after getting this jackpot. Other games do have obnoxious light shows, but most of these games are tucked away in the corners, while Tower of Tickets is circular and requires a larger area. For that reason alone, I would put this version in C tier. The whole version also has this light show, but it's not very long. If you're on the whole version, it's only you that will need to assume the burden of an additional health risk, because you will need to bend down to get your winnings from the prize chute. If you want to prevent the long-term harm you'll apply onto your body from accessing the prize hole, I recommend you invest in a stretchy sticky hand to retrieve your ticket roll without hurting yourself. With this optimization in mind, we can give it B tier. Okay, so this is a very lazy one. I just lumped every game shaped like a wheel into one archetype. A lazy conclusion like that deserves a lazy placement. Not just your hand, but your entire arm partakes in this repetitive motion. I'm going to give them all C tier. You run the risk of throwing your back out every time you decide to spin one of these. Up next, we've got an interesting one. This is Willy Crash. It thankfully doesn't have any buttons, but instead you use this detonator plunger thing to shoot Willy. Unfortunately, you may hurt your back while operating the plunger, so I would consider this worse than an unergonomic button. You also need to juggle the usage of your plunger while also lining up your protractor on the screen to make sure you have the correct angle to shoot Willy at. Depending on where you live, it may be wise to read up on the guidelines of how your jurisdiction handles demolition. With all of that in mind, we can let this one land in C tier. To conclude this list, we've got Zombie Snatcher. This game is essentially just a night mode version of Tower of Tickets. It has the same style of ergonomic button, but unlike Tower of Tickets, this game is incredibly safe for your eyes. There is no crazy strobe light that goes off when someone wins. It's just a game that was made with the intention of being easy on the eyes. This is a definite S tier. A point to note, while this isn't an ergonomic concern, it's a safety concern for children aged 5 to 30. Some arcade goers may find the contents of this game and similarly horror-themed games like Monster Drop and Spider Stompin' disturbing. Please make sure to consult the manager regarding any cartoon graphics that may induce nightmares for you. You can request them to put masking tape over the scary parts of the arcade games. And that's the end. We've fixed the tier list. If I missed any huge safety concerns, do let me know in the comments section. I'm especially curious to hear the point of view from any of the arcade technicians. While you guys work with these games, do you find any of them to be detrimental to your health and safety? Going forward, I will make sure to have ergonomics and our physical health and safety as a high priority while I continue to chronicle these arcade games.